What's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to show you how to build this super easy wither skeleton farm that gives you tons of skulls in just a matter of minutes. It utilizes 2 spawning floors to maximize the amount of wither skeletons that can spawn, giving you fast and easy access to wither skeleton skulls for either decoration, beacons, wither fights, whatever you want to use them for. But with that all being said, let's go ahead and get into the farm. Here is everything that you're going to need for this farm. A couple things to note here: these nether bricks and glass blocks, these can be any solid blocks you want. I just like to use nether bricks and glass. Same with these walls, trapdoors, and slabs. These can be any type you want. However, you are going to need 2 piglins with this farm, so you're going to need a way to transport them and a way to keep them here so they won't despawn. And then lastly, you will need something to spawn proof. Personally, I use slabs. As for the spawn proofing, it's going to be an unknown number that you're going to need here. It just depends on how much you need to spawn proof and how big your fortress is. Now, the ideal location where you want to build this farm is going to be here in a soul sand valley. So if you look around here, there's already a lot of mobs spawning in the fortress. That's because the Soul Sand Valley doesn't have very mobs to begin with. It has some skeletons and some ghast here and there, but for the most part, the spawns are going to be concentrated here in the fortress. So what this means is when you do spawn proofing, you only really need to spawn proof the fortress here. If, for example, you use a fortress here in like this Crimson Forest, you're going to get a lot less spawns here in your nether fortress because of all the piglins and everything that can spawn around the farm. Ideally, you want to find something in a Soul Sand Valley or maybe even the Warped Forest. That's going to be the blue version of this biome, and those are going to be the best 2 biomes to build this farm in. If you want to build a wither skeleton farm in a fortress like this, you definitely can, but then you would have to spawn proof all the land around to get better rates in a 128 by 128 sphere. Lastly, if you're having trouble finding a fortress like this, you can use something like Chunkbase. You put your world seed into the program and then you can see the biomes around where fortresses are located, and it can help you find it a little bit easier. And then once you find your fortress, the last thing you're going to want to look for is a crossroads. So you're going to see 2 different crossroads. One is going to have these arches over the top, and then another one is going to be open like this. This is the one that you are looking for here. Now let's talk about the easiest way to get a bunch of wither roses. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to come here into the end, and you're going to want to clear space out underneath the end portal here. And then underneath, you're going to want to build this little cross pattern. Imagine this is the wither body, right, just laying on the ground. And then you want the tail here, or this like single obsidian, to be underneath the very middle. So if we stand here and we use a little bit free cam and go out, it's under the little column here. So then we'll place the soul sand down, and then we'll place 2 skulls. We'll leave 1 open for now. And then you're just going to want to take a bunch of eggs and fill them up down here. Throw them until you have a bunch of chickens down here. This can take a while, but this is the easiest way to get a bunch of mobs in here. There are other farms like the Allay farm using the potion that spawns a silverfish. That's another way to get a bunch of mobs in here. Pretty much you just want a bunch of mobs down here when the wither spawns. Then after you have your little pen here pretty much filled with chickens, you want to go ahead and throw some poison potions in here. This is going to get all of the chickens down to a single heart. What I like to do is I like to make a couple holes so I can throw the potions down a little bit further and ensure I get all of the chickens. So this looks good. Now comes the hard part: is you need to place that final skull there in the middle. And honestly, the easiest thing is to just hold down the button and eventually you'll get lucky. And there we go, we now have the wither spawned. So what's going to happen now is the wither is pretty much going to spawn, and then once it blows up, all these chickens are pretty much going to perish to the wither. And then you'll see that they drop a bunch of wither roses. Then you can just go in here, pick up all the wither roses, and then you can go ahead and kill the wither. Depending on how many you get, you might have to do this a time or 2. Just keep doing it until you have enough wither roses for the farm. Then once you're ready to build your farm, you want to go ahead and find the center of your crossroads. Here I've marked it out with a piece of obsidian, and you're going to want to mine out 10 blocks from every side of this obsidian. Then once you've mined out 10 blocks from every direction, you want to go ahead and connect it up like a square. So you will reach some open spots like this. That's fine. You just want to give yourself a little perimeter on where you need to mine out. So then once you've made your little perimeter here where the edges need to be, you want to go ahead and mine out all the blocks in that perimeter, in that square, 5 blocks above the obsidian and then 4 blocks below the obsidian. So you're going to have a big cube pretty much of space here. Alright, and here is our little cube pretty much all mined out. So this is what you should be left with now. And if you remember, we mined out 10 blocks on each side of the obsidian here. You can see this demonstrated by this yellow and black line. There's 10 blocks here, 10 blocks on this side, right? And it's going to be the same on those. And then just remember, it needs to be 5 above the obsidian and 4 below the obsidian, all completely mined out. So I added these over here to show you that this is indeed 4 blocks here. and this is 5 blocks up here. Now after you've mined out your cube here, the next part that I personally like to do is I like to do the spawn proofing next. So you can technically do this at the end. I just like to get this out of the way, and pretty much all you're going to do is go through the entire fortress, placing slabs or carpets or buttons over every single nether brick block that you can find, pretty much concentrating all the spawns here into this one small area. I like to use stone slabs or cobblestone slabs just because they won't burn, right? So this is what we're gonna do now. We're gonna spawn proof the entire nether fortress. All right, so we've gone ahead and finished our spawn proofing. So you should be left with something like this. Your nether fortress is gonna look pretty weird, and generally placing the slabs or the spawn proofing on just the nether brick is generally fine. But if you want to be extra thorough about it and get rid of pretty much all spawning possibilities, you can get a mod like Mini HUD here that shows the bounding boxes. So now what the bounding boxes are is pretty much where mobs can spawn, right? So if you see this big section here, this is a crossroad, this is the wither skeleton farm that we're making. Then it shows like the bounding boxes for the bridges, right? So you'll have some areas like this where you have kind of some overhang, and these spots here can actually spawn mobs. So you can go ahead and cover up these spots as well, like all the way down here, right, to really get rid of all the mob spawns. You don't have to do this, however, it will help the efficiency of your farm. But the other thing is you are so far away from these things that a lot of the mobs that spawn here will just despawn shortly after. So this part is really up to you. It's optional. You can choose to do this, you can choose to leave it, but generally just spawn proofing the nether bricks will be enough for your farm. Now we can start work here on the middle section. So from your center block here, you want to go ahead and place 3 temporary blocks, and then you want to place a solid block. You can break those temporary blocks, and then from this center block here in the middle, you want to place a second one. Pretty much any direction, it doesn't really matter. Then from this second solid block here that you've placed is going to be the one that's not directly under the obsidian. You want to place a temporary block and then place 2 walls on the sides just like this, and now you can break this temporary block. Then you want to place netherrack very specifically around this center section here. So you want to place 3 here in the front, extend it 1 more on each side, then extend these so there is a 1 block gap around this middle part here, and then you want to bring these in 1 block and then connect them across. So you have kind of this almost creeper face. You have this 2 block gap here. It goes 1 to the side, 1 block gap, and then it goes around the walls. You want to place a trap door on the top half of the block and open it in between these walls here, just like this. Then after you have this floor pattern, what I like to do is go along the outside here and place a perimeter to kind of give me a guide of where the blocks need to go. Now before we fill this in, because once you fill this in, mobs are going to start spawning in here. So we're going to get the piglins in place first. So from these walls here, you want to build them each up 1 extra block, and then you want to place them to go around these 2 center solid blocks here. So just like this, and then you want to leave this 1 block gap right here. Then on the solid block that's not directly under the obsidian or your marker here, you want to place a trapdoor opening away towards this opening here. From here, you want to place a ring of trapdoors around this center section. So we're going to place 8 trapdoors, and they're going to create a 1 block hole here in the middle. The last one, you want to place it on top of this trapdoor, and it should end up with a perfect square just like this. Now we need to get the piglin in the farm here. So what you're going to want to look for is one with a sword. If it has a crossbow, you don't want that one. You want to look for ones with swords. The easiest way to do it is to use something like a boat and bring them from a crimson forest. So in this case, the crimson forest is right there. We would use a boat and just bring them over here. This guy has a crossbow, so we actually don't want this guy. At this point, you can break this center marker here. You no longer need this. And then the easiest way to get a piglin into your farm here is just create a little chute just like this. Then once you have your piglin, the easiest way to get them into the hole is you have your little chute like this. A lot of the time they will just walk right into the hole, but if they give you some problems, you can barter with them, throw some gold into the hole, or right click on them, they'll be distracted by the gold, and then you can just push them in. Then after the piglin is here in this spot, you want to place a block of glass directly above their head, and then you can get rid of all these temporary blocks that you use to get the piglin inside. You also want to make sure that this guy's not going to despawn, so you can either do that by giving him a pair of iron boots if they don't already have a pair of boots, or you can name tag them. So in this case, I'll name tag this guy, and now he is no longer going to despawn. Then after you get this first piglin in, you want to build the same exact thing on top here. So you're going to place these 2 solid blocks in the same orientation. You're going to place a temporary block with these 2 walls here on this side. Build out the same netherrack just like this, so you can place a trapdoor against this block and open it. Then of course you want to build up the walls again and place these all around this center column here. another trapdoor here on this far solid block, so it opens up towards this other trapdoor, and then you want to place the 8 here in the middle, creating that same square. So then after you have this set up, you want to get another piglin in here using the same strategy as the one from below. In this case, I'm just going to spawn one in. He has a crossbow, so we don't want him. All right, and there we have one with a sword. This guy, I'm going to give him some iron boots instead. He should pick them up and wear them as long as you throw it into the hole with him. There you go, just like that. He picked up the iron boots, and now he is not going to despawn either. And if you notice, they're already targeting the wither skeletons. So the reason we have the piglins in here is because wither skeletons and piglins are actually enemies. So the wither skeletons will try to run and target these guys, and as you saw, they fell down this hole here. This is where we're going to collect them. So now after getting your piglins in, now we're going to fill in this first floor here with netherrack. So you want to fill up this entire inside section in your little perimeter that you built here earlier. When filling in this floor here, make sure to leave this 1 block gap here. This is to ensure that the wither skeletons don't get stuck right here and instead walk around to your little chamber here for them to fall down. After placing all the netherrack and filling it in, you then want to go ahead and place a 3 block tall wall around this nether brick perimeter that you built earlier. So this is where I like to use glass. However, you can use any solid block that you want here. The glass does not matter. Finally, when placing the wall, you want to give yourself a small little hole here to walk out, because the next step is to place your wither roses on every single block of netherrack here. This is to ensure that only wither skeletons are going to spawn here in your farm. After you place all your wither roses, close up the farm here, and then we're going to pretty much build this exact same thing on the next layer. So on top of your glass wall here, start with placing another nether brick outline. And then go ahead and fill in all the netherrack again. Also, make note when you get close to the center here, you want it to have the same outline as the one below. So just to recap, it's these 3 in the front connecting these 2 walls. Then you want to make it come around and have a gap in from these solid blocks here. Then once you reach the back, you want it to come in 1 block and cut out, so you have this 1 block gap here in the very back. Make it come in a single block again, and then continue around the rest of the walls. And then just fill in this entire empty area with your netherrack. Also, I forgot to mention earlier, when you place this piglin in, make sure to place a block above his head as well. Then once we fill in all the center with a netherrack, place another 3 block tall wall of glass around the outside of the farm here. Again, you want to leave yourself a little bit of gap here and fill in every single spot with wither roses once again. Once you place all your wither roses, close up the glass, and now from here you want to build another perimeter around the glass, but this time we're going to fill in this layer up above. We're going to put a roof on the farm here. Once you have your 3rd perimeter around the glass here, go ahead and fill this all in with whatever block you want, honestly. Then, to ensure that nothing spawns here above your farm, you just want to place slabs on the top as well. You want to spawn proof the top of your farm here, similar to how you did in the entire fortress. Then once you have spawn proofed the top of your farm here, this part is now complete. Now we're going to build the killing chamber for the wither skeletons. So for this part, now you're going to need to make your way underneath the farm here. So we're just going to dig down a couple blocks and then we're going to make our way to the middle where we have the trapdoor opening. So then after you've made your way underneath the farm here, you're going to need your bucket of powdered snow, and you want to place this powdered snow directly under this trapdoor. So it should be on this little diagonal like this, and then from this wall here, you want to dig down 24 blocks. So this will be 1, 2, 3. Then as for how big this hole needs to be, you want to build a 3x3 hole with this powdered snow as the center. So if we go ahead and just dig around this, we now have this 3x3 hole, and we just want to dig this down 24 blocks. So again, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll just continue down until we're at 24. Then after you've reached the bottom here, after you've broken 24 blocks down, you want to go ahead and place slabs here on the bottom. So create a 3x3 platform of slabs here, line yourself up in the middle. Then after you find the center, you want to place walls all the way up the sides to connect with the walls that are up there. So you're going to do this on both sides. And then while you're doing this, you're going to want to place a column of glass as well. So on the back side here, we'll have this one come all the way to the middle. But this front one, we're actually going to skip a block and have it start up one like this. So it should be a little staggered like this. Then from here, you just want to build this all the way up until it connects with your farm up at the top. Then after you've built your tube here, the farm is now going to be complete. So what's going to happen is the wither skeletons are going to spawn here on this platform. They're going to run here, try to get the piglin, and then they're going to fall down this hole. Their fall is broken by this powdered snow, so that way when they hit the bottom, they're all going to be at 1 HP. The reason this works is because the wither skeletons, they see this open gap here and they realize they can't walk across this. It's best to make this at least 3 blocks deep. So what they try to do is walk across here in front of the trapdoors. They assume that trapdoors are actually open like this, so they think they can walk across and instead fall down into the farm. Another thing to note is when standing here, you want to make sure you are on this block level that's below the slabs. This is going to put your pretty much spawning sphere at the right location so that wither skeletons can spawn on both floors. And sure enough, after standing here for a little bit, we start to see skeletons falling down, and then we can use our sword to go ahead and hit them. If we fly up here, you can see it in action. You see the wither skeletons, they try to attack the piglin, fall down into the hole, the powdered snow breaks their fall, and then we can farm them down here for drops. And look at that, we already have a wither skeleton skull. It took no time at all. If you want, because there are so many drops in here, you can place a couple chests down here just like this, and then you can connect some hoppers down here that'll pick up all the items as well. This is not the only storage solution you can use. You can use pretty much any storage system or storage thing that you like to use. Then when you hit the wither skeletons, of course all the drops are going to go into the hoppers and then go here into the chest for you to easily collect. But that's going to do it for this wither skeleton farm, guys. Let me know down below if you're going to build this farm in your survival world, and if you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more tutorials just like this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.